We are spiritual beings living in a physical universe where we orchestrate our experiences using the laws of mind. What we know about the truth of the universe, what we know about our identity, what we believe to be our reality, they all influence our thoughts, our emotions, our words, and our actions, which in turn create our results. Money is a result. Wealth is a result. Poverty is a result. In this course, I have revealed to you the concept that real money is big money. And big money is the kind of money that flows to you effortlessly through multiple channels in ever-increasing quantities on a continuous basis. No matter where you are in the world, you know a few people who have the big money, and you know too many people who are struggling financially, because the economy of the world is organized in a way that it has no mercy on your wallet. The amount of money you need to pay your fees, pay for health care, fuel your car, put a roof over your head, everything that you need to live a decent life, a happy life, a fulfilling life, you need money for. So, even the intangible things that we normally cannot buy, like happiness, love, self-esteem, peace of mind, and so on, they are still indirectly tied to the free circulation of money in our lives, because when we don't have enough money, we lack freedom, we lack choices, and so our life ends up in stress. So it's a moral responsibility to be prosperous. It's a moral responsibility to have an abundance of money, because without an abundance of money in this material world, there is very little you can do to live the life that you deserve. And you and I know that the glory of God, the splendor of the universe, the purpose of life is for you to be fully alive, fully human. And without money, that is not an option. Struggle, stress, pain, abuse, and all that goes with dependency, deprivation, and even slavery. Those are not things that you came to earth for. So how do we explain the fact that there are people who are okay with not having enough money? The question really is, are they actually okay, or they just accept it as their reality? One thing I have made clear in this course is that the concept of riches or poverty is subjective, because what may be enough for one person may not be enough for another person. For example, if you're living in downtown Manhattan in New York, your monthly rent alone equals wealth to someone living in some other part of the world. So the focus is not on the amount of money. The focus is on how much money is enough to afford you the freedom that you need to live a decent and fulfilling life, depending on your state in life and where you live. So our emphasis is not on the specific amount of money, it's on the quality of life you can afford. And when it comes to the quality of life, when we looked at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we looked at the success code, and we looked at the value pentagram. You could see very clearly that you are value. You came to this world to enjoy this universe, this garden that the Creator had planted and put you in it. So there is no debate about the fact that abundance is your birthright because you are living in an abundant universe. The birds are at home in the air because there's an abundance of air. So abundance goes with natural habitat. The fish, they are at home in the sea because there's an abundance of water. So abundance goes with natural habitat. You as a member of this economic system that you find yourself in, so long as money is the medium of exchange of the value transactions that make up your life, you're supposed to have an overabundance of money flowing through you. Not an overabundance of money being hoarded by you, but an overabundance of money flowing through you. So why are so many people living in financial stress and they are doing nothing about it? Because they are living in the illusion that that is their reality. There is nothing they can do about it. So when we looked at the mechanisms through which your social identity, your physical identity has been conditioned, you surely had an expanded awareness because you saw how false this conditioned identity is. And that is the purpose of that lesson. You saw how this conditioned identity is running this software called a paradigm, and it is this paradigm that has been silently orchestrating your life habitually without you being aware of it. So the content of your paradigms is called myths, beliefs that are false. So myths are what we will look at in Unit 4 of this course. And I like to look at myths as the false beliefs that have been programmed into you through your social conditioning. And these myths have basically hypnotized you into living a false reality, because since you have been hearing them over and over and over, you now assume that they are true. You now follow them religiously. You now use them as a reference point for your decision making and your value judgment. And in fact, sometimes when somebody attacks those myths, you feel hurt. You even attack them back because you now identify with those myths. They are your comfort zone. You are going to have a challenging time in this lesson because we have put together 15 of those myths, the ones that I have personally experienced in my life, the ones that have been part of my life while growing up, and that I have been able to debunk in practical ways. So brace up, because your life is about to change. So the first myth about money is this myth that money is an object. Fortunately, we have taken 2 entire units of this course to X-ray the concept of money. In the first unit, we looked at the evolution of money, and in the third unit, we looked at the nature, the real nature of money. So under the evolution of money, you saw that what we call money is basically the form that we give to money, and this form changes over time and in different environments. Therefore, the form that money takes is not money itself, it's just a symbol. But most people live their lives assuming that that symbol is money. We saw in Unit 3 that money is actually energy in motion seeking value. So, with what you now know, it is clear that money is not an object. Money is energy, energy in motion, seeking value. And since energy is universal and you are part of that universal energy system and you are value, you will be shocked to realize that the real money is you. So myth number 1 debunked. Myth number 2, you need to work hard for money. We have reiterated throughout this course that there is not enough number of hours in a day to justify how rich people get rich if they were to rely on clocking in and clocking out like the majority of people do. And there is not enough effort in their muscles to justify the money that they have if they were relying on hard work alone. In fact, I always joke with the idea that if hard work was what made people rich, my mother would have been a billionaire because she gave birth to 10 of us and she was up every morning by 4 a.m. and she would hardly ever go to bed before midnight. God rest her soul. So hard work is not what makes people rich. The people who work themselves to death are those who have the idea that money is an object that they are supposed to be working for. So myth number 2 debunked. Myth number 3, you need to be highly educated in order to be rich. There is a famous football player in Cameroon called Samuel Eto'o, and there was a time when he was making like 1 billion CFA francs per week as a professional footballer in Europe. I've forgotten the exact figures, but Eto'o and I are perhaps age mates, and he is a secondary school dropout. I used to joke about the idea that if academic qualifications could be equated to wealth, then I should be the one who is a billionaire and Samuel Eto'o should be maybe my driver or bodyguard. So, not to give you any complicated concepts, this is a very practical lesson. Just look around you, you realize that among the wealthy people of your city or your country, there are highly educated people and there are less educated people, and sometimes there are stark illiterates. In fact, another thing that is common in my community is that the people who dropped out of school because they were not very smart and focused their youth building businesses and careers, they are the ones who end up being rich, while those who spend all their lives in school and ended up with PhDs wind up in the classroom regurgitating the knowledge in their heads to another bunch of miserable learners in exchange for a salary. So the educational system is messed up. I use the word miserable learners deliberately because the educational system is messed up. 1, they don't teach money in school. 2, more than 80% of what a typical university graduate learns in school, he would never use it in real life. And 3, if you do a survey of any category of workers, be them professionals or entrepreneurs, they will tell you that most of the knowledge and skills that they use on a daily basis, they had to learn it in the field. So while education is important to help you function well in the society, education really has nothing to do with wealth accumulation. If you receive financial education, then you'll be able to apply it to get rich. But schooling itself has nothing to offer most of the times. So myth number 3, debunked. Myth number 4, you get rich as a result of your religious practice. Here again, the evidence is clear. No matter what religious environment you find yourself in, you find rich people, you find poor people. And within each religious circle, you know those ones that are, the most pious, the most religious. Sometimes they are instead the broke ones. So people have this feeling that when you are part of a particular religious movement, or you're following specific religious practices, then God blesses you. Look, God is a universal law, and perhaps the best definition of God is found in the Gospel of John. God is love. God is not a tribal chief that you need to come and caress every morning with worship and praise and sacrifice in exchange for your daily bread. That is a very primitive idea of divinity. And in this modern age, it's a shame that some people are still locked into that belief system. No matter what religion you find, we live in a universe where religious freedom exists in most communities. So you have the freedom to follow the religious system you choose, but you also have the responsibility to be critical about the beliefs. Most of the people remain in the belief systems in which they were born. So it's not really faith by conviction, it's faith by adoption. But as a mature person, you need to be critical about your beliefs and work on those that don't serve you. So when it comes to the subject of money, there are Christians that are rich and there are Christians that are poor. There are Muslims that are rich and there are Muslims that are poor. There are Hindus that are rich and there are Hindus that are poor. There are native or indigenous African or Native American practitioners that are rich and those that are poor. There are atheists that are rich and there are atheists that are poor. Religion has nothing to do with the subject of money. Money comes as a result of the wealth consciousness and financial education. Your religion is part of your social life, but since religion deals with beliefs, your religion has a very strong hold on your subconscious mind, which in effect affects the rest of your life. So you need to be careful about the things that your pastor or imam or priest dumps on you, So myth number 4, debunked. Myth number 5, you need to be part of a cult or secret society in order to be rich. This is a very popular one in the African settings in which I was raised, because basically people used to look at, in fact they still do, people look at money with suspicion. They have been so enculturated, so indoctrinated in poverty that when you become rich, you are now an outcast. And the only way to explain how you got rich is that you joined a secret society. So another funny thing about this concept of secret societies is that there's this assumption that when you join a secret society, you have to offer sacrifices in order to get the wealth that you're getting. And these sacrifices is usually in the form of your family members and so on. So I used to ask them, when someone becomes a billionaire, how many people is he supposed to have sacrificed in order to become a billionaire? In my case, for example, the community I come from, in order for you to have $2 million, which equates to maybe 1 billion CFA francs, I believe you should need to sacrifice my entire village, because that is a community where people consider 1 million CFA francs as wealth. So occultic movements exist and secret societies exist. They have been part of human history all along. In fact, in our various villages or cultures, we have various forms of cults. We have various forms of secret societies, like the village priesthoods, that is a cult. The priesthoods of our churches, those are cults. People are initiated into them. So there's nothing so strange about cults or secret societies. By the way, the term secret society was coined by the church in order to demonize those spiritual movements that were holding and teaching the esoteric sciences that the church did not like, because the medieval church, as you know, they did not entertain the idea of people knowing their power or awakening their power or practicing their powers through any other means apart from the doctrines and dogmas and creeds that were prescribed by the church and supervised by the church. So many of these myths that we are looking at, the church is part of framing them, because most of us in this modern age, even though we call ourselves traditional, our cultures have had a huge influence from religion. Sometimes, most of the times, imported colonial religions. So, myth number 5, debunked. Myth number 6, your geographical location determines whether or not you are rich. So this one is a crucial one, because again, in African settings, in Asian settings, many young people, their greatest ambition in life is to travel abroad. There's nothing wrong with traveling abroad, but if you grow up with the illusion that you can only succeed if you travel abroad, you end up with broken dreams. One, because less than 5% of those who dream of making it abroad ever succeed to travel abroad. Some even sell family property and they never get the opportunity to travel. When you travel abroad with that illusion that it is when you get there, you automatically get rich. When you get there, you suffer from a culture shock. And that is why sometimes people travel abroad and it takes between 5 and 10 years for them to recover from culture shock, find their feet again, and become actual people. So it's pathetic, but it's also the part of the tragedy is that people don't talk enough about it. So while people are running away from Africa and Asia to travel to Europe and America, European and American companies are instead moving to Asia and Africa to look for business. So apparently, the person outside sees the opportunity that you're taking for granted, and when you abandon it, he comes and takes it, and then the vicious cycle continues. in simpler terms, no matter what city you find yourself in, you will see that there are rich people there and there are poor people there. So if there is a place that makes people rich, you would expect that in that place everyone will be rich. And if there was a place that makes people poor, then you would expect that in that place everyone will be poor, right? Right now, go to the United Arab Emirates, you realize that those people have built a paradise in the desert. So even the desert is not as barren as we used to think. In the city of Boston, where I find myself in Massachusetts, 75% of the city is standing on man-made land. So even the sea is not as impossible as we used to think. So it is humans that create wealth. It's not geographical location. When you carry wealth within you, you can manifest it anywhere. And do you know that humans are now flirting with the idea of settling on the moon? When they do, there are people that will grow rich on the moon. So myth number 6, debunked. Myth number 7 says that you need to practice a specific profession in order to be rich. Yes, so when we were growing up, our parents would normally give us a list of careers that were the dream careers. You either became a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant, or a failure. And by that definition, I am a failure. So that is what worked for them in their day, right? So don't blame our parents. When they were growing up, they had these key professions that they were considered elite. But today, the world has changed. You don't need to be in a specific profession before you can be rich. Again, if you look at doctors, you find rich doctors and poor doctors. You look at engineers, you find rich engineers and poor engineers. You look at teachers, you have rich teachers and poor teachers, and the list goes on. So it's not the profession that determines whether or not you get rich. No matter how big your paycheck is, if you have a poverty mindset, your money problems will always increase in relation to the size of your paycheck. So myth number 7, debunked. Myth number 8 is related to myth number 7. It's that you need to practice a specific trade, that it's only people in a specific line of business that get rich. That is also a simple one, because you just need to walk along any commercial street in any town you find yourself. You notice that the same wherever you find a chain of stores or businesses of the same kind, there are always 1 or 2 key businesses that dominate that market. Take a snack bar, for example. You find one snack bar that makes millions per day, and then 7 other snack bars on the same street that can barely pay their rent. Or in fact, they are managing customers from the overflow of the main snack bar. It's the same with banks, it's the same with electronics shops, it's the same with clothing lines. Every business sector, wherever you find a chain of them, you always find that one that is dominating the market. So if there was some particular business sector or some particular line of business that makes people rich, now you expect that everyone in that line of business would be rich and everyone in some other line of business would be poor. In my hometown, there are people who became billionaires as education entrepreneurs. There are people who became billionaires as real estate contractors. There are people who became billionaires by selling granules. So it's not about the line of business. It's about who is in the business. So myth number 7 or myth number 8, debunked. Myth number 9, gender. You're probably wondering what I mean by gender as a money myth. Do you know that in most cultures of the world, women are raised to serve men? Women are raised with the only ambition, or their grandest ambition, being to find a man that will take care of them. Unfortunately, even those who go to school and get doctorate degrees, God alone knows how it works. But no matter what jobs they have and how much they earn, they still feel lesser if they don't find a man. So this myth is so powerful because it's one of the dominant myths in many cultures, especially in Africa and Asia and rural parts of America and Europe. So it's really a tribal thing, a native thing. Women are programmed by society to look for the man that will take care of them. What that means is that the woman loses motivation to become self-reliant. Or sometimes when you see a hardworking woman or a self-reliant woman, she's doing that as while waiting for a man. So there are inspiring women in the world that have debunked that myth and become billionaires. And I think that is the greatest lesson to look at. If you are a woman, getting married to a man is a choice. Having a man who, quote unquote, takes care of you, it's a good thing. But that should not be your ambition in life. Relationships that make sense are relationships that in which the partners are interdependent. When you become a parasite, you cannot say you are in a relationship. You are a servant, you are a slave, you're property. The only luck could be that you have a man who doesn't use you like property. But when you're dependent, when you are a parasite, then that is what you are. You're property, to some degree at least. But when you cultivate yourself into a valuable asset and you become financially independent before entering into a relationship, then you have power, you have choice, you have the freedom, and you have the opportunity to enjoy a relationship that is based on interdependence, not dependence. So myth number 9, debunked. Myth number 10, you cannot get rich if you don't have connections. This again is a very popular one. People give themselves permission to stay poor because they live with the illusion that they don't have godfathers, they don't have somebody who can connect them to money-making opportunities. It is true that we live in a universe or in a world that, in which networking and referrals and all of that plays a role in people's success. But like every other thing, it is a facilitator, not the cause of. So if you're someone who doesn't have any value that people need, all the connections in the world would not serve any purpose. Conversely, if you're someone who develops yourself into a value that people need, then most of the times it's the connections that will look for you. So if you have connections, that is good for you. If you don't have connections, challenge yourself to become someone's connection when you become rich. Challenge yourself to build your own wealth, because even the connected people that you're thinking about, somewhere along the line, someone had the audacity to make it on his own before he could help other people. So if you become the first person to make it on your own, within your own environment, you too would be able to help other people. So networking is good, but networking is not the cause of prosperity. So myth number 10 debunked. Myth number 11 says you need capital in order to be rich. And I say that when you have capital, you are already rich, because the only thing you need to do is to multiply the capital. So the spirit that creates wealth, the spirit that attracts wealth, is this spirit called entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is the ability to make money out of thin air. Yes, that is what it boils down to. When you have the ability to take an idea and turn it into a value that people are willing to pay for, you are being an entrepreneur. And when you do that, you are making money out of thin air. So entrepreneurs will always raise the capital they need. They don't start with capital, they start with an idea. So when you're hiding behind the idea that you don't have capital, you're just looking for an excuse to stay lazy. So myth number 11 debunked. Myth number 12 says that wealth is a matter of chance or destiny. And so what this idea says is that some people are destined to be rich and some are destined to be poor. So if I am poor, I should not worry. It means that God destined me to be poor and be a servant or hand clapper to the rich people. That is not true. You see, we function, or we live in a universe that functions according to law and order, and it is impossible to be part of a system that unfolds according to law and order and then have a life that unfolds by chance. It doesn't work. Your life unfolds according to law and order. So if you are having good luck in your life, you are your own good luck. If you're having bad luck, you are your own bad luck. And the ultimate bad luck is ignorance. That is why you are taking this course. When you immerse yourself in this knowledge that I am revealing to you and you put it to work, you will realize that all the good luck that has been eluding you so far will start flowing to you without you doing anything about it. Because, like I keep saying in this course, it's about you being a magnet to money. Right now, if you're not having enough money, it means that you're a magnet to scarcity. And it's all about the programming in your mind and your heart and your actions. So when we flip the coin and we program you into a magnet for money, then you start attracting good luck. Money, prosperity will become your destiny. So it's not God that destines you for poverty, it is you by the choices you make. So myth number 12 debunked. Myth number 13 says that there is not enough money to go around. Oh, so some people feel guilty that if they have too much money, it means that they are robbing someone else. It's a lie. The reason why some people are swimming in billions is because they are creating value for billions of people, and the universe is rewarding them accordingly. The reason why some people can barely afford 3 square meals a day is because They are not creating any value for other people. They are just busy surviving. So it's about how much value you are creating. And since we have already seen that paper money or currency is just a symbol, there is no limit to how much of it we can print if we need it. COVID-19 is a good example. In 2020, the government of America printed more than 3 trillion US dollars for the COVID-19 relief efforts. If one government can print $3 trillion in 1 year, how much money do you think really exists in the world or can exist in the world? And how much do you really need to live a comfortable life that will make you start feeling guilty that you're causing a shortage somewhere else? There is no such thing. In fact, even the real money, the gold and silver, no matter how much of it we have consumed so far, we have not yet even scratched the surface when it comes to the mineral deposits under the earth. And who told you that the universe has stopped creating precious minerals? Nobody knows that. So whatever we need to prosper as a human race, the universe will provide, because that is why the universe is here. There is no such thing as scarcity of money. The only scarcity is that of ideas in your mind. So myth number 13 debunked. Myth number 14, money is the root of all evil. This is the favorite one among religious people. And it's very unfortunate that some people call themselves religious, but they don't actually read their scriptures. Because if you actually read your scriptures, then you will know that what that line says is that the love of money is the root of all evil. And what does the love of money mean? The love of money means the lust for money, the worship of money. Now, I challenge you that if you are one of those who lives in the paradigm that you are supposed to be working for money, then you are a worshiper of money. You think that money is an object. You have invested money with value, and now you are living for money. So you wake up every morning and you dash out of the house. You barely have time to take breakfast. You grab fast food while driving your car or while in the train. You go and do a job that you hate. You work 16, 18 hours a day. You don't have time for your kids and your spouse. You don't have time to participate in community life. You don't have time to go to your place of worship. Your health is deteriorating. All the things that matter in your life as a human being, you are sacrificing them on the altar of the paycheck. What does that boil down to? That is the worship of money. That is the love of money. That is the root of all evil. And where does that originate from? The illusion that money is an object that you are supposed to be working for. So you see that the real root of all evil is a lack of money as a result of poverty consciousness. So this course is helping you to uproot that seed of poverty in your consciousness so that you can rearrange, renegotiate your relationship with money and allow money to serve you, because it is you that is value. It is you that is the master. So myth number 14 debunked. And finally, myth number 15, money does not grow on trees. So it's either your dad has, been telling you money does not grow on trees, or he will usually ask you, do you think I pluck money from trees? So when we did the evolution of money, you noticed that the idea of printing money on paper is a very recent one. And the paper actually is not money. The paper is an IOU note from the government. Its only value is the signature of the governor of your central bank. And there was a time when each banknote in circulation was backed up by an equal amount of gold in the reserve, until when Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And since the dollar was and still is the world reserve currency for most countries, basically all money got off the gold standard. So the paper that you call money, where does it come from? Paper comes from trees. So yes, money grows on trees, because your currency is just a symbol, it's just a piece of paper that's harvested from trees. In fact, the ink on that paper, the special ink that is used to print your banknote, is more expensive than the value of the money itself, if not of the collective agreement that we have in the economy, that we can use this piece of paper to exchange this amount of value. So the idea that money does not grow on trees, I know it's a metaphor, but I've also used a metaphor to show you that there's really no basis of it, because the people who say that, they are basically reinforcing the idea that money is scarce, money is an object that we are supposed to work for, money is value, and all of that, all of these other myths that we have seen. But you need to reprogram your mind by knowing that money is just a symbol, and the piece of paper that you have in your wallet right now is not money. That piece of paper comes from a tree. And so each time you look outside and you see the trees and the leaves on them, it should remind you that money is supposed to be abundant in your life, the same way that those leaves are abundant on the tree. Because the economy is like the ocean, right? The economy is to you like the ocean is to the fish. The economy is to you like the air is to the bird. Money is in superabundance, and there is no limit to how much money can be produced. There is no limit to how much minerals like gold and silver exist under the earth. So the only scarcity is in your mind. So we have seen 15 myths that have been holding you captive, and I hope that I have helped you to debunk those myths. Well, these myths have been programmed into your mind over time, and they have been silently running your life for your entire life. So probably it will not take a 45 or 50-minute lesson to debunk all of them. But what you can do is follow this lesson over and over and over and over again. Just like this myths um, took your life hostage through repetition, it is also through repetition that you are going to reprogram these new ideas into your mind, so that you become a magnet for money. So let us round up this unit with our daily exercise. Step 1, spiritualize. Step 2, mentalize. Step 3, empathize. Step 4, personalize. And step 5, actualize. You spiritualize by raising your awareness away from the senses and the circumstances around you and becoming conscious of the laws that govern the universe, the laws that govern your life. When you become aware of the spiritual universe of which you are a part, then you are aligning yourself with the laws of abundance that govern the universe, and that is how you become a magnet to money. That is how you redefine your identity. That is how you reprogram the paradigms that create your reality. So set aside at least 30 minutes each day to engage with course material like this one, or read your scriptures or any inspired texts that will help you raise your consciousness so that you become spirit conscious. Step number 2, you mentalize by deciding how much money you want, deciding the quality of life you want to live. As a standard for this course, we have challenged you that you should set a goal of turning your annual income into your monthly income. So write down what that goal is in the currency that you are using so that you're very clear about it. Then conceive of a scene that implies that you already have that money and play it as a mental movie in your mind every night as you fall asleep. Step number 3, empathize. To empathize is to become emotionally one with something or someone. And the person that you're becoming emotionally one with is your prosperous self, your wealthy self. So just as you have decided what you want and you have conceived of a scene that implies that you already have that money, now invoke the feeling that corresponds with that scene, right? So that you can immerse yourself in that feeling. Feel the feeling that would be yours if you already had that money. If you can invoke that feeling now, then that money is a present moment reality for you. Step number 4, you personalize. So your body is a vehicle through which you orchestrate the good that is coming to you from the physical world. So in order for your body to catch up with the image in your mind and the feeling in your heart, you also need to program this awareness into your body. And you do that through mirroring the personality or the attributes of that abundant self. So look at the rich version of you and ask, if you already had this money, if you were already living this quality of life, what are the qualities that you'll be manifesting on a day-to-day basis? Pick one quality and make it part of your life right now. For example, giving. If you are abundant, then you would share more, not so? So create a practice in which every day you find something to share. When you share, you are imprinting in your DNA the conviction that you are abundant. And as you do that over and over, your body will catch up with that vibration of abundance, and that is how you become a magnet for money. Finally, you need to receive the good that is already yours, the money that is already yours. And you receive that by following your bliss, taking action on these inspired ideas that come to you day in and day out. So all the money is already yours, and you have now polarized yourself into a money magnet but you need a container with which to receive the money. And that is a role that your effort plays. So your work or your effort is not about hustling to earn that next paycheck. It's about aligning yourself to receive. And you align yourself to receive by taking action on the inspired ideas that come to you. Thank you for following this lesson, and I invite you once more to go through it over and over and over until you have thoroughly debunked all the myths that have been holding you captive and replace them with your magnetic self.